Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have my July wrap up. We are in August now. That feels crazy to say. When I look back on the books I read in July, it feels like a very average reading month, even though I did read some really good books. So I'm not sure why I have those feelings, but I think it was just a slower month for me in terms of how much I was reading. I've been having some issues with my jaw. I have TMJ. So it's been causing my whole head to hurt, my ears to hurt, and it's gotten really, really bad. So it's kind of slowed down my reading a little bit. So I can't be too hard on myself because it is what it is. It's out of my control. Well, I'm doing what I can to help it. So with that out of the way, let's just jump into what I read this month. So I read the second and third Zodiac Academy books. The second one is Ruthless Fae, and the third one is The Reckoning. I'm having such a good time with this series. The first book I felt really meh about, and then the second book I really started to get interested, and the third book I really, really liked. I gave them both 4 stars. They're not like my new favorite books or groundbreaking or anything, but they're a really fun time and fast-paced, and I'm enjoying them a lot. If you don't know what the Zodiac Academy is about, it's about these 2 twin sisters who some man approaches them one day and tells them that they're actually Fae royalty and they need to go to Zodiac Academy so that they can learn all the things that they need to know about being a Fae. And a lot of people want them to take their throne because they are the lost princesses. Their real parents are dead. So there's been these 4 heirs that have been like assigned to the throne since the princesses were missing, and there's some tension between those 4 heirs and the 2 rightful heirs. At the school, there's some bullying going on, there's some romance going on, lots of drama. It's really good. So I have finally decided to read the Throne of Glass series, and if you don't know, I read the first book, Throne of Glass, in like 2020 and never continued on. I just thought that book was okay, so I just was like whatever about it. And then I've heard on BookTube and everywhere that you need to keep going with the series and it gets amazing. So I decided to do that, and I'm not going to go too in depth on my feelings here because I'm actually vlogging my whole experience with the series, and that will go up as soon as I'm done with the series. I might have to split into 2 parts. We'll see. But yeah, so I'm not going to talk too much about it right now. But the first book I read was Throne of Glass. The first time I read this, I gave it 3 stars. The second time around, I gave it 4 stars. I don't know why, but I enjoyed it a lot more the second time around. So 4 stars for Throne of Glass. And then I read Crown of Midnight, and I gave this book 5 stars. This made me like really excited to keep going with the series, and I'm so, so glad that I read this book. So 5 stars for that one. And then The Assassin's Blade is a bunch of novellas, and I just don't really like novellas. I think there's 5 in it, and the first 3 I didn't really care about and I was really bored, and the last 2 I liked. So I ended up giving the whole thing 3 stars overall. So that's how I feel about that so far, and my vlog will have spoilers in it, but if you've read the series and you want to hear more of my thoughts, a vlog will be up shortly. The next book I read was Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. This is about Princess Eowyn. When she's born, she bonds with 5 dragons, and her father sees this as a huge threat and thinks that she's going to take over the throne with her dragons. So he locks her in a dungeon for like the first 10 years of her life, I think. And then finally she breaks out and she runs away, and she creates her own kingdom and becomes queen of that kingdom. And then we have Caden. He is the commander for the enemy kingdom to her father's kingdom, and he approaches Eowyn and strikes up a deal with her to get her dragons back and to form an alliance with him. And it's obviously their romance, and there's some dragon stuff in here, and it's a lot of fun. So I really, really enjoyed this. I think that Caden and Eowyn had some of the best banter I've ever read in a romance before. I was laughing out loud at some of their stuff. The tension was high. There's some really good like steamy scenes in here. And yeah, I loved their relationship and the relationship as a friend group in total, because Eowyn is traveling with her best friend, and then Caden has his 2 friends that they're kind of all in a group together, and it's really, really good found family, and I really enjoyed it. My only problem with this book is the pacing was very strange. It felt very, very off. The beginning felt okay, and then it was very, very slow for so much of the book, and it felt like we weren't really making any progress towards the plot at all, which I'm fine with character-driven books, but it just was really, really, really dragging. And then the last little chunk of the book, like, flew by. So I really think the pacing of this book is its biggest downfall. Overall, I did really enjoy it, especially for the romance aspect of it. I loved the romance, and Eowyn is the most badass character ever. Like, I really, really love her. She can handle her own, and yeah, she's just really cool. Also, there isn't as much dragon content in here as you would think there is. I'm sure there will be more in the next books, but I just feel like maybe that should be known going in. Like, if you're expecting as much dragon stuff in here as Fourth Wing, it's definitely not like that. There's very little of the dragons actually in here because they are being locked away by Eowyn's father. You don't really see them that much. So yeah, but I really did enjoy this book. I think I'll probably continue on with the second one. Like I said, I don't know if I said actually, but I gave it 4 stars. And I buddy read with my friend Victoria from Under Victoria's Spell. We read Hooked by Emily McIntyre. So I've been wanting to pick this up for a while. And then if you don't know, Emily McIntyre is on her journey to fight cancer. So I really wanted to support her even more. And I wanted to read this and then maybe buy the rest of the books in the series if I liked it. And I'm happy to say I did really like this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. This is a dark Peter Pan retelling, as in Wendy is with Captain Hook instead of Peter Pan. And it was really, really good. I've never really read anything like this before. And I feel like it was just the right amount of dark without kind of going over my boundaries, because sometimes things are a little bit too dark for me, and I don't feel like this was at all. And I had a really good time with it. It was a nice, fast-paced read, and I'm really excited I read it, and I can't wait to see what else the series has in store. Then I read Meet Your Match by Candy Steiner. This is her new hockey romance and her new hockey series. And this is about a girl who is working for a like social media type of company and a hockey player. They meet at like an art auction, I think is what it is. They are immediately at each other's throat and kind of have this weird interaction where they're attracted to each other but annoy the shit out of each other. And then her team that she works with for social media approaches her to do this story on this hockey player because he's a rookie and everyone's obsessed with him. So her job is basically to follow him around and document like what he does all the time. And she's very reluctant, but she takes the position because she knows it will really help her career. And she kind of has been burned by a rich athlete in the past. Her ex-boyfriend was a rich athlete and he really, really broke her heart. So she's definitely hesitant to be around him. And yeah, they just have really, really good banter, really, really good chemistry. And it definitely was so fun to read. It's forced proximity because she has to follow him around all the time. And I really, really enjoyed this. It made me want to read the last 2 books in Candy Steiner's football series because I haven't finished them yet. And I really just love Candy Steiner. Meet Your Match was a 5-star read for me, and I'm so glad that I read it. I also did my buddy read with Victoria in Autumn, and it was Autumn's pick, and she picked The Things We Leave Unfinished, I think is what it's called, by Rebecca Yarros. And I really went into this book not thinking I would like it that much. I typically don't like books that have a historical element. This focuses on 2 timelines, one of them being during World War II. Typically don't really like that. So I was going into this thinking I wouldn't really like it. And let me tell you, I loved this book. This is definitely the favorite book of all the books I've read this month. I immediately texted my mom and my sister and told them to read it because it was so amazing. And this book is really, really twisty, but also very romantic. And I really, really loved it. I can't even believe I liked it as much as I did. I did not cry. I don't really cry in books, but it did make me tear up a little tiny bit. So this was such a good buddy read, and I'm so excited I read it. This will definitely probably be in my top 10 books of the year. I'm obsessed with it. The last book that I read was Why Are You Here by Brianna Jean. And I don't know if I love or hate this book. So this follows a girl who had a really, really traumatic past, and she really loves this specific rapper. His music really like speaks to her. And one night she goes to a party with her friend and she meets this rapper. And they instantly have this crazy connection and are obsessed with each other basically. And It's their romance. It's extremely toxic and back and forth. And it was really, really addicting to read. I read this super fast. I don't know if I love it or hate it because I was definitely entertained. I couldn't stop reading it and I wanted to know what was going to happen. But also, their relationship was so frustrating to me because I like toxic. I love toxic. But I didn't know what they were fighting about ever. And I don't think they knew what they were fighting about. They weren't fighting about anything ever. Except for maybe one time that I can remember. They actually had a reason they were fighting. But they, like, someone would just breathe wrong and then they were, like, in a full-blown fight. And I didn't really understand that. And it was annoying because typically, like, angsty, drama-filled books, there's a reason they're fighting. Whether it's, like, other girl drama or insecurities, whatever it is, there's a reason. There literally was not a reason for them to be fighting. And I had a hard time believing his connection to her. They kept saying they're twin flames. And I just didn't really see his connection to her. Like, he just saw her and immediately was attracted to her. Hers I understood a little bit better because she has this connection to his music. But I didn't really get that aspect. I didn't really understand why he liked her that much. And then also, they were just annoying, like, so annoying. They're definitely, like, that kind of couple that you'd never want to hang out with when they're together because all they do is fight about nothing. That's these people, and it was annoying. But also, I was really entertained the whole time and couldn't stop reading. So I ended up giving the book 3 stars. So that's kind of where I fell with that rating. It was hard for me to do. It's not my kind of angsty and toxic, I guess. So those are all the books I read in the month of July. I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. I hope you had a great reading month, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.